Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. We'll get started in just a few minutes here. I see a few more people have been joining, so I just will add again. We'll get started in a few minutes. We have an Arkus 2-minute policy here, so we'll start in another minute or so. Okay, I think we will go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We're excited to be presenting with our client and partner, the Carina team, on hidden growth mode with Salesforce Marketing Cloud. From the Arkus team today, we have myself. I'm a director of sales here at Arkus. I've been with this team a couple of years. I was at salesforce.org before I joined this team. And we also have Ed. He's our delivery team manager for our Marketing Cloud practice here at Arkus. We also have Daniel joining from the Carina team. He's a marketing operations strategist. He was a key partner for our team throughout this project. And we have a few other Carina team members joining us today, a few other Arkies on the call. But thank you to those of our clients attending, our Salesforce partners attending, and anyone else who was able to join us today. Our agenda for the call today, we will walk through a little bit more of setting the scene of who is the Carina team, how we all got introduced, what brought them to the Arkus team in the first place. We will also set more context for those of you on the call less familiar with the Marketing Cloud ecosystem of what is Marketing Cloud. We'll take you through a solution demo of what we set up for the Carina team, which I think is always exciting for people to see. We'll do some overview, some walking through setup in real time, and then we'll go through Q&A at the end. So Daniel, I want to give you the opportunity here to introduce a little bit more about who is Carina, what brought you to this conversation with Salesforce, and just setting that stage for us a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. So good morning, everybody. I'm Daniel, the marketing operations strategist with Carina, and Carina is a nonprofit digital platform that we operate in the care space, and we help connect care providers and care seekers. We're a two-sided marketplace where we let those two parties really communicate with each other on our platform to help find providers more work and care seekers the help that they really need. We were really born out of Medicaid home care workers demanding more autonomy over their work. Started here in the state of Washington, and now we've grown to help provide matching services for thousands of workers and care seekers across 6 states. And really, we were sort of evaluating our tools and were they meeting our standards and our rate of growth, and they weren't at the moment. And so we started to do a little shopping and came to the Salesforce platform as being a pretty solid option, and partnered up with Arkus to make sure that we got started off the right foot, to make sure that we could make an impact in the care space and really take care of both sides of that industry.
Great, thanks. Yeah, we're really excited to have Carina on the call today. They've done some really incredible work since 2016. It's pretty amazing. To set the stage too for a little bit about Arkus and our role in the Salesforce ecosystem, we've been a partner since 2010. In that amount of time, we've worked with almost 700 clients at this point on close to 2,000 projects. So in those numbers themselves, you'll notice we have triple the amount of projects that we do clients. We tend to really advocate for that crawl, walk, run approach to Salesforce that you likely hear about pretty often, and really partnering with our clients to collaborate on how can we have the most impact most immediately with Salesforce, and then expand and really get that 360-degree view that you can get within the Salesforce environment. We have a team of a little over 50. We're all across the US. And amongst the 50 plus of us, we have 260 Salesforce certifications. So we're one of the most deeply certified teams in the ecosystem. I want to jump in a little bit. So I will, Daniel, ask you to elaborate a little bit around specific pain points that Carina was experiencing that made you really say it's time for us to make a real change?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great question. As I mentioned before, we were in a position where we were growing pretty quickly, and we were evaluating our tools, and they couldn't keep up with that growth. And so specifically, we used to be on the Hubspot platform, and we did find that it worked for sort of early stage where we were working in the care space, but we pretty quickly ran into some issues in working in the care space, and particularly in Medicaid. It's a heavily regulated industry, and with the simplicity that we had in working with HubSpot, it was very easy to get stood up very quickly. So it really did fit our needs, but with that simplicity comes some limitations. And again, it didn't meet the way that we were growing. It wasn't sustainable, and that wasn't something that we were willing to compromise and kind of carry that forward. So operationally, it didn't meet some of the security needs that we really needed to have as the foundation for us, expanding into more regulated care spaces. And then from a marketing standpoint too, we were having some significant challenges. One of which was, dealing with fresh data. The way that, because it's such an easy platform to get started on, it's really easy to make some pretty critical mistakes that you find later on. And making sure that our data was accurate, up to date, and really in sync with our internal database was a really significant challenge for us. We were finding ourselves having to do some workarounds internally to try to make the platform work. And we did the best that we could for as long as we could. And we did see some successes there. But again, sort of recreating those successes and your ability to capitalize on things that are working and iterate on them quickly was another challenge. And that's something that's critical. It's in order for us to move into new markets and really take care of this really delicate and critical industry that we were in. So from operational to marketing and even security management with our data, we were seeing some pretty significant challenges as we started to grow a lot more over time.
Yeah, I think that's probably of the hundreds of organizations and companies I talk to, the siloed data needing to, either for you all siloing it out of necessity from a security perspective, or just out of that happening more naturally because you're having multiple different systems. That lack of connection between marketing and the other sources of data is one of the most common reasons that we see people making this move, especially as you get more data, more insights as you're growing.
Absolutely.
So looking back now, it's been almost a year, 1 year later, what would you say is different about how you're managing the marketing side of things today?
Yeah. So making the move to Salesforce, really put us in a position to really consider the registration cycle of our users. And so we're able to finally identify, being able to really scrutinize what our processes are. We were finally able to identify where folks were dropping off at that registration stage, and really send them some targeted reminders, to be able to get them to convert quickly. Essentially, our platform is successful only when folks are able to get registered and start communicating with each other and start finding solutions and start finding work as quickly as possible. So, moving to a new platform and standing up a new market was really critical in making sure that we could see, the successes that we had learned and proven on HubSpot. Specifically, when we started on HubSpot, we launched a Washington Medicaid market. And it took us a little while to see some successes there, even past a pilot phase. It's grown to a point now that it's one of our most successful markets. It's the space where we make the most impact, and so we wanted to be able to have that as a benchmark for when we stood up our newest market, when we were transitioning onto Salesforce, which was our Oregon Medicaid market. And being able to look back at the things that we had learned in Washington to compare them and really see how successful the platform had made us was really important. And just being on the Salesforce platform and standing up this market here, we were able to generate over 30 matches, 30 pairings between care seekers and care providers within the same pilot period months as we did in Washington. And in Washington, we had struggled really to make those numbers. So, just being able to have more, tools and visibility in those registration failings, and where we could kind of capitalize on some opportunities and sort of nudge people along, was already proving itself to be fantastic to have that level of visibility on the Salesforce platform. So, a year later, I'd say that we've been able to catch up to our successes, and we haven't had to do a lot of testing and sort of figuring things out in a new market. We were able to really recreate those successes very, very quickly.
That's great. Yeah. Now going into some of the mechanics, we set a little bit of the stage of where you were, where you are now. I want to back up and go into those mechanics of Marketing Cloud a bit more. So, Ed, I will pass to you to hone in on some of that.
Thanks, Kate. Yeah, let's get into what Marketing Cloud is and why it worked so well for Carina. So Marketing Cloud, it's a suite of products. It's not just one product that Salesforce offers. There's Marketing Cloud CDP, there's advanced analytics tools. But today we're just going to focus on Marketing Cloud Engagement. This is kind of the core Salesforce tool for sending personalized emails, text, push notifications, ads, Facebook, and WhatsApp messages to subscribers. So while following data to comply with regulations is what led Carina to adopt Marketing Cloud, that's not the only reason organizations outgrow HubSpot or some of these easier to use tools. And yeah, let's kind of focus on a few of those reasons here. So There's Journey Builder, which is going to be the focus of today's demo. It's a very powerful drag and drop drip campaign builder where you can easily A/B test content, you can create engagement splits, you can integrate AI elements, and you can send data back to Salesforce. Marketing Cloud Connect is the best-in-class connector with Salesforce. Most integrations with other platforms are limited to certain Salesforce objects and often have no way of managing one-to-many or many-to-many relationships. MC Connect is also capable of synchronizing with any Salesforce object and field. So, and that kind of leads into the segmentation. Marketing Cloud has a really flexible data architecture, and it enables organizations to create very precise audiences that are almost impossible for other marketing automation platforms. When you want to send messages to one contact about another contact, like parents about their children, when you want to integrate a product catalog for personalization, or if you want to create dynamic content based upon the case or event object or other custom objects in Salesforce. These are kind of the use cases that I listen for that make me think it might be time to consider Marketing Cloud. Finally, Marketing Cloud, it's an enterprise level solution where you can have very specific customization around user permissions and security settings. From setting up minimum password lengths to creating an audit trail to applying custom user roles to, there aren't many marketing automation platforms that really enable organizations to have that control over their platform, quite like Marketing Cloud. So with that, I think we're gonna move into the demo.
Yep, that would be great. And we'll try to show you all as much as we can. We could be on the phone for hours and hours if we were to show you everything you can do with Marketing Cloud. So we're going to go through some of the highlights. We are happy to set up time with people individually after today's webinar to go through more specific use cases for whatever they might be interested in. But with that, I'll pass to Ed and Daniel.
Sure. Thank you, Kate. So Daniel, how is Marketing Cloud making it easier for Carina to scale into new markets?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ed. We can take a look at a few things here. First is the way that business units are structured. So as I mentioned before, we were operating in a heavily regulated industry, and being able to ensure that our data is being segmented and kept secure and not commingling with other markets that we're in is critical for us. So, being able to have everything listed under a single instance of Marketing Cloud is really important. When we compare that to the way that we were operating with HubSpot, the only real way that we could ensure that data segmentation was to have multiple accounts. And as we started expanding further, that just wasn't going to be a sustainable model for us. So being able to keep everything under one enterprise account while still adhering to that data segmentation regulation that we're held to was just absolutely critical to us. Now, if we're breaking into a totally new market and we're required to segment the data from the rest of our business units, we can quickly add one of those to the list there. And if we're expanding into an existing market that we're already in, we don't have that data segmentation requirement, we can quickly add in a new folder within that market to kind of keep things organized. That also really kind of helps us keep content creation really streamlined by using the shared content we've created for other business units in that same market. So as we're seeing here, we can really quickly take communications at either the individual level and duplicate those across multiple business units that we've seen have been working in the past. Or we can even, recreate those at an entire journey level, and that's something that that we can take a look at here in a second as well. But really, kind of being able to capitalize on those, on that seamless, recreation of successes has been really, really critical for us.
Sure. Why don't we take a quick look at Journey Builder and you can explain how it works?
Yeah, definitely. In particular, we can actually kind of take a look at one of the journeys that's been really successful for us in streamlining our registration process. And that would be the care providers onboarding not started journey. And so with this one, as I mentioned before, Carina's really made for two audiences, care seekers and care providers. And in particular, in our Medicaid offering, both audiences are able to create an account and either create a job posting, if they're a care seeker, or look for work that fits their, skill sets and schedule if they're a care provider. And now there might be some instances where providers who, create their account but don't create their profile right away. You can sort of think of this as, an abandoned cart concept for a more traditional like sales business. But this journey is really meant to nudge folks along with a series of reminders that it's only when providers have completed that profile that they can, one, search for work, two, be found by care seekers looking for care, and three, message care seekers. So completing this step is really, really important and critical for them to be able to use our platform. And then, we're really conscious that, this is a tool that, both care seekers and care providers can leverage at any time. And we really want to make sure that folks are getting the messaging that is specific to the situation that they're in. So being able to layer in some activities in here, particularly the decision splits, really gives us an ability to unenroll folks who have, already completed their profiles. And so we avoid them getting, any communications about, hey, here's another reminder to make sure that you get that profile completed. We don't want to confuse them with messaging that doesn't necessarily pertain to them. One other feature that we added in here as sort of, doubling down, sort of like a fail safe, is if for any reason this decision split doesn't segment someone out, we've also added in some exit criteria. And we've added this, the same definitions there. So if anybody completes their profile between, them being enrolled and them receiving these communications, the system will check, the journey will check and make sure that only those folks who meet that criteria of they haven't completed that profile portion get those messages. So, having the ability to ensure that your messages are going to the right folks for the right reasons is absolutely critical to our success. And, as I mentioned before, if we really wanted to duplicate this entire journey, obviously some things might be tweaked if, to meet the specific needs of a new market. But because we've seen this work so well in all of our spaces, really, duplicating this entire journey is so much easier than we ever could in HubSpot. That required us to really start everything from scratch rather than having and iterating on an already proven set of communications.
Excellent. So why don't we take a closer look at one of the journeys that starts after they've onboarded?
Yeah, absolutely. We can take a look at the care provider onboarding complete. That's a really great journey to see once someone does complete all the steps to completing their profile and getting registered. We can kind of take a look at what kind of communications that we're sending them there. Yeah, so we'll just look at that care provider onboarding complete journey. Awesome. So really the goal of this journey is meant to send communications to providers that completed their profile and now they're able to, one, start looking for work. So we want to make sure that we remind them that they can actively start looking. They don't need to wait for a care seeker to reach out to them. And we also offer up some helpful tips when messaging a care seeker. Stay conscious of when you're getting notifications from care seekers, respond in a timely manner. Because finding work and finding care solutions as quickly as possible is really important for these folks. And we also send some check-in emails here. We also kind of use this as an opportunity to gather some feedback on how they're liking, the experience of using the Carina platform, and that directly impacts the direction that our product team chooses to make improvements for the platform. So we've kind of used this as an opportunity to both inform folks on how to use the platform, how to get the best out of their profiles, and for us to be able to get feedback and make constant improvements to the way that we're serving up our tools to these folks.
Interesting. Does Carina ever plan to send more than just emails?
Yes, absolutely. So a significant amount of our site traffic is on mobile, and we definitely recognize that having more than one channel to outreach is critical. And so we've definitely been looking into leveraging some more mobile studio to add some SMS communications to our journeys, so that we're not just relying on one, outreach channel. We've actually seen that, folks get a lot of, or that we get a lot of response when we send mobile campaigns in the past, or when we had sent mobile campaigns in the past. So that's definitely something that we want to iterate on here. And then also, since we're running paid ads for some of our business units, we're also looking into structuring some journeys around an ad campaign activity. So that way we can send communications based on which ads a user might have interacted with. And we can get, even more specific, have a more tailored experience from, gathering those leads to the site and really driving that messaging and that conversion home.
What about A/B testing? Have you guys tried Path Optimizer yet?
We haven't tried Path Optimizer at the moment, but it's definitely a feature that we're interested in leveraging. Yeah, being able to test different types of messages within a single journey really makes gathering insights a lot easier compared to how we were doing A/B testing in HubSpot. It really required us to test one thing at a time, iterate on that, and then make changes to either entire journeys, single pieces of communication. But sort of looking at it here, we're able to see in real time which communication is getting the most engagement, and we can define what success means. We can define, if we're sending an email, we can say, oh, which is getting the best open rate, which getting the most clicks engagement, and then be really in control of the amount of traffic that's going to either one of those paths, so that we can really get a clear definition as to what's being successful. So yeah, that's definitely something that we're hoping to leverage here pretty soon.
Cool. So these have been the journeys you started with to kind of lay that foundation. How are you planning to use new journeys in the future?
Yeah, so now that the foundation's really been set for like our core set of communications, we do have one journey in particular that we're looking to start soon. And it's one that's going to help us get a better understanding of how many matches we can generate between care providers and care seekers. And that's going to be our message sent in the last 30 days. So I know that this one looks, pretty straightforward and pretty simple, but it's really, the power of it is really all in the setup with the data extension settings and activities that lets this journey be a monthly communication, right? And so this one specifically targets anyone, a care seeker who has sent a message to a provider in the last 30 days. Sometimes whenever we do have these communications and connections with care seekers and care providers, it can take some time. You want to make sure that you're finding the right match for your needs, and that care provider can really take care of you or your loved one. And so we use this as an opportunity as well to kind of give them some time to evaluate that, start that work, and then do a temperature check. Did this match work out? Were you able to successfully find someone on Carina? And right now, we wanted to keep it super straightforward, really simple. but it could definitely be improved. And Ed, in our time working together, I know, taking a look at this journey, I know you already have probably some ideas on how we could improve it. Do you mind if you see what improvements we could make here with just a few minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the easy ways to start using AI inside of Journey Builder is Einstein send time optimization. So this is where we give Marketing Cloud a window of time to send to the subscriber. And at first, it's going to start with account-wide data based upon the engagement with your emails and start sending there. But as it learns more and more about the subscriber and when they're more likely to open and engage with your email, it's going to remember that, and it's going to start sending during those times instead. So that's one of my favorite go-tos. Another easy one is these engagement splits here. You can, with the drag and drop interface, you can select a prior email or message, and then we can determine whether they go down certain paths based upon opens, clicks, or bounces. I think typically we like to use clicks. You can get as detailed as a specific link in the email to determine which path they should go down, or you could pick all of them. Just gonna go ahead and pick both here. Click done, and there we have one path for yes, one path for no. So if they filled out this survey, or at least they click the button to fill out the survey, we can go down this path and exit. But I'm going to go to one of my other go-tos in Journey Builder, which are these wonderful Salesforce activities that rely on MC Connect and is like a really powerful feature, including task creation. So we could, if the subscriber goes through this and they don't click on that link, we could create a task in Salesforce for one of your staff members to kind of look at them a little bit more closely and determine why they aren't matching with people or what their experience has been like in the platform, and reach out to them in a more individual way.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, even in our partnership of working together, we've done a lot of work to make sure our audiences are getting the right messages, but being able to leverage Einstein and just like the simple activity, and making sure that they're getting the message at the right time of day for that unique person is super powerful. It's you couldn't ask for better. And I know that I've mentioned it a few times before, but being able to create tasks for our other teams to really have some actionable information saying, hey, we've reached out to these users before, they're not really responding, but we still want to make sure that they're getting the best experience out of Carina, and kind of creating that touch point for them and that list of folks that might need a little bit more of a personal touch to get feedback from. That's awesome. That only creates more collaboration with our internal teams, and we have more folks beyond just a marketing perspective really involved in this particular set of communications that we're sending out. So yeah, these tools are awesome. So yeah, those are fantastic recommendations.
Excellent. Well, that's going to conclude our demo. Thanks so much for talking us through that, Daniel.
Yeah.
And with that, we're going to switch back to Kate.
Great. Yeah, thank you. I think what's really great about what you've highlighted here is, of course, a lot of marketing is about bringing on new customers, but everyone in this world also talks a lot about it can be 5 times more expensive to get a new customer than to retain customers or clients. And so Carina just does such a good job of considering that personalization, not just in the message itself, but the timing of the message, who it's going to, that segmentation piece. So I think you guys highlighted some great things there. So Daniel, not to put you too on the spot here, and not wanting to be too salacious. I think of the AT&T and the Verizon commercials, putting digs on each other. This isn't about that. It's more just really so we can educate the audience when they are considering, do we move to Marketing Cloud now? Do we stay with something like HubSpot? What would be some of those things that you might actually miss about HubSpot?
Yeah, definitely. And I'll definitely be honest. There's not a whole lot to miss about HubSpot once we made the transition, at least not functionally. Just in the year that we've been set up and stood up a new market on Salesforce CRM and in Marketing Cloud, it's just so much more robust, and it really does put you in the driver's seat of just how far do you want to leverage your data, how actionable do you want to design communications around that data. And so functionally there's not a whole lot to miss. It's a tool that matches the growth that we've experienced and the complexity that we're in now. But if I did have to say that I missed anything, it would probably be the simplicity of the HubSpot UI. But as I mentioned before, kind of early on the call, with that simplicity comes some functional limitations. It's something that you can use right out of the box for an easy startup solution, but we outgrew that pretty quickly, and Salesforce might be a lot more complex of a platform. There's definitely a lot that you're in control of, but it just takes time, honestly, to get more confident and more proficient with using the platform. And there's so many resources. There's so many more resources available because it is so complex. But they really go in depth, and they really try to empower you and make you knowledgeable about some of the tools that are available. Whereas with the simplicity of HubSpot, it's sort of like an easy setup tool. So there's not really much explanation that needs to go on there. But you start kind of working yourself into a corner, and it's you start to see the limitations of things pretty quickly. And as your business grows, there's limitations there, and even as as a security platform, it's got its limitations. So I think overall, with simplicity and with something that's very, very easy to use out of the box, just making sure that you have those expectations of, it's going to be simple the entire way, and it's not going to give you a lot, and to not be deterred by the complexity of something as big as Salesforce, because it does have the support there.
Right. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. We talked to your team a lot about, like, we don't necessarily you don't regret choosing a tool like that when you first started, because it's what you needed at the time. I think just saying we chose one of the simplest options because it allowed us to get our message out there really quickly. But then the goal is to grow. So that you outgrew that tool.
Exactly.
Pretty naturally. So looking back on this journey, it's a little crazy. It's March. I think we actually really started about exactly a year ago. What would you have done differently? We have audience members here today that are maybe where you were a year ago, thinking about embarking on this journey. So what kind of lessons learned can we pass along?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is probably one of the most critical parts of this presentation that I can kind of communicate to people, is that really we underestimated just how robust and how complex and customizable the CRM and the Marketing Cloud platforms were going to be. And I say that with, we chose to go with Arkus, as an implementation partner. We were, fully confident that if we were kind of left to our own devices, we could set up the CRM and Marketing Cloud platforms on our own. But it would have taken a significantly longer, learning curve. It was significantly longer than that. And I don't know that we would have been able to get it right and start off on the right foot on our own. So being able to work with an implementation partner was really, really critical, because just the level of complexity of the platforms and working together with Arkus, sort of forced us to look at all parts of our business, from our engagement cycles to our registration processes that we're asking our end users to go through, and really understand every single checkpoint that our data is moving through, and really scrutinize what that's going to look like. Because when we're doing that, yes, it's tedious, yes, it's a long process, but in the end, when you kind of take a step back from all that work, you essentially built a roadmap or a blueprint of the way that your data needs to be structured in CRM, how that data needs to be passed over to Marketing Cloud. And so you're doing all of this work that you're seeing in the long run really benefit, and it can fit into your business model. That was a big concern for us, that as you mentioned before, HubSpot met our needs so easily early on. We had now grown to something more complex. We were a little concerned as to is Salesforce CRM and Marketing Cloud going to fit into our model? And working with Arkus and kind of being forced to really look at all of our processes, we later came to understand that it is customizable and it is tailored to your needs. You just have to understand and have a very clear picture of your internal processes, because it'll just give you that level of clarity back in the way that you're designing. And again, that the platforms itself are pretty complex, and I have no doubts that spending some time, an organization could probably stand it up on their own. But really being able to have an implementation partner that, one, understands your business, puts you in a position to define your own roadmap, and ask the question, how do you want to be able to use the data that you're gathering? Really kind of holds you accountable to the way that everything is going to be designed, how everything is going to be segmented and communicate between two systems. So yeah, it probably would have made the process a little bit easier, and I know Arkus kind of held us accountable to that, but really just having that clear vision of paths that you're asking your end users to go on just benefits you all in the end.
Right. Yeah, I mean, even just in the demo of Journey Builder, it's like, this is a great tool. It's not a magical tool. Obviously, those journeys require a lot of thought, planning, even just the content required for a journey like that. So we try to hone in on that early with clients of, this is going to be a collaboration. We aren't going behind a curtain for 6 months and showing this to you at the end. We're going to need you to be the business process experts. We'll be the Salesforce experts, and we can kind of meet in the middle and make those two things mesh.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Well, that's really everything in terms of content that we had planned for today. So I'd love to open it up if there are any questions. Of course, like I mentioned early on, we're also happy to set up time with individuals one-on-one at a later date if you want to go even more in depth into what this might look like for you. But are there any more immediate questions that we could try to answer today?
Yeah, we do have a couple great questions. Yeah, we'll start with one for you, Daniel. Can you share more about how many team members were tasked with the HubSpot implementation and what their respective roles in the implementation were? We are currently using HubSpot and have decided and have distinct teams managing data, building automations, building emails, and executing content strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also have Lonnie here as well. She was, she's been with Carina since the beginning in 2016. So she can probably speak a little bit more to what the team looked like then. So Lonnie, do you have anything to add here?
Yeah, actually joined in 2019, but Chief Programs Officer. So I lead all the teams and campaigns that are outside of product. So marketing, user support, and project management. Carina is now a team of about 20, and I would say nearly every person from leadership to associate had some sort of role in the migration. Whether it was project managers making sure that funders were aware during the change and how things would look, and making sure that each contract was still being met in the new workflows and that sort of thing, and that any direct changes got the heads up as needed, and we were able to time all of our Salesforce work with all of our contract work. User support obviously had a huge role. We had all of our user support system on HubSpot, and we now have all of our user support system outside of a couple separate segmented ones in Salesforce. And so that was its own migration. And obviously we've talked a lot about marketing, and then all of the engineers had to make sure that everything that was going into Salesforce actually lined up. And we were moving, because of the need to silo our data, it meant that we were moving a lot of our information that we normally keep on our backend and database into Salesforce. So there's a huge amount of leadership decisions around what we were putting in Salesforce and where it was going, and lots of decisions around what was going from Salesforce CRM to Salesforce Marketing, and then really strong leadership on all of our teams for actually building all that. And I would say one of the most key things is the role Daniel played as really the specialist in between marketing and engineering to make sure that everything was actually, all the APIs were set up correctly and all the information was flowing in the correct way, and really maintaining that integrity. It is a big switch, and it is a very large investment to make it, but I agree with what Daniel said earlier, that there's so much more that you can do as you're scaling in Salesforce. I personally miss HubSpot because it was really easy for me, but we've grown. I shouldn't be writing marketing things and sending out emails. That is not my role. And so as we've grown to be from a team of 7 or so people just doing whatever needed to get done to a fully fledged, mature organization with departments and specialties, Salesforce definitely makes the most sense. But give your team time and be really thoughtful on the timeline and how it affects any contracts you have or anything like that. Daniel, anything to add?
No, other than probably one thing to touch on is really have somebody in a position that is sort of monitoring your current state now and where things could go in the future. It's really easy to kind of get caught up in, moving into a new platform and what kind of improvements can we make, in the transition. And so I think being able to have someone that can hold accountability on both sides or at all levels of, recreating workflows, making sure data is getting segmented in the right way, how to be able to manage, list creations and all of those sorts of things, the content management and things like that is really set some rules around, what that environment should look like in the new space. But really just kind of having one person that has sort of a bird's eye view of everything, if everyone is kind of siloed in their specialization. That way, just kind of holds everything and everybody accountable and consistent.
And Lonnie makes a great point that this webinar, though it's focused on that HubSpot to Marketing Cloud transition, there was a whole other element of our project with Carina in moving them completely to Salesforce CRM as well. So that was another full half or more than half part of this project that we didn't highlight today.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add to that, there's sometimes this impression that only huge organizations with tons of resources can successfully implement Marketing Cloud, and that's simply not true. You're careful and methodical, and you have people with at least some genuine curiosity in learning the platform. You can do it. I've had organizations, as small as 2 people, well, at least 2 people managing Salesforce and Marketing Cloud. And I mean, they were invested enough into it that we were able to make it work. Okay, we have another question. Probably for both of us. So are you pulling in data from places outside of the CRM? And if so, are you using data extensions exclusively, or is Zapier ever used to bring data into Marketing Cloud? And I can take that one if you like. Okay. Yeah, so currently Carina is just using CRM data. However, that's one of the big benefits of Marketing Cloud is that it can combine Salesforce data with external data, or it can rely completely on external data without CRM. It does work better generally with Salesforce CRM, but it can work just fine without it. As for Zapier, there's no out-of-the-box Zaps that work with Marketing Cloud. However, Marketing Cloud does have its own SFTP. And so you can sometimes use a tool like Zapier to connect with your external systems through the SFTP. And Marketing Cloud has excellent, well-documented APIs that can also connect with external sources, and then those do feed into data extensions, and then essentially we'll combine those data extensions with other data extensions to kind of give you your full picture of your contacts. So yeah, those were the 2 questions.
Great. Well, thank you for those who asked questions, for everyone who attended. In terms of some next steps, if you want to learn more about Carina, you can go to their website. We will share this recording out with everyone who attended, so you can, reference the site here for that, as well as if you do want to set up one of those one-on-one conversations with Ed and myself, or another Arkus team member regarding any other questions about just Marketing Cloud mechanically or technically, or what this could look like for you, we're happy to schedule time with you individually. But with that, that really concludes our webinar. So we really appreciate everybody attending and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.